Good evening. I hereby call to order the May 8th, 2017 council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. DeJohn?
Here.
Mrs. Finney?
Here.
Mr. Mano?
Here.
Mr. Mercurio?
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta? Here. Mrs. Snyder? Mrs. Dressy?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now move on to acceptance of the minutes of our last council meeting on April 24th, 2017. Hope everyone has had a chance to read them. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Are there any suggested changes, amendments, or deletions to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes of our April 24th, 2017 council minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved as written. We will now move on to correspondence and announcements. Does any member of council have something to share? Mrs. Sabetta?
Thank you, Madam President. The next Chagrin River Watershed Board meeting is a trustee meeting, and it's May 18th in Chardon, where a new president will be elected. Greg Suden will stay on as a trustee after over 20 years of service and a founding member of the Chagrin River Watershed Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabetta. Any other correspondence or announcements? We will now move on to reports of our officers, and we will begin with our mayor, Mayor DeSico.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. Just wanted to say, despite I had inclement weather over the weekend. I don't think that's even describes it. The horrible weather over this past weekend. There were two successful events that took place. First, on Saturday, our annual Shred and Recycle Day went forward in the wind and rain, and the turnout was still very strong. From 9 until noon, there was a steady stream of residents utilizing the shredding and recycling services. We do not have any figures yet, but I think it's going to be pretty close to last year's numbers. We did have a good turnout. The second event took place in the community center parking lot. D-Pave Neo, along with volunteers from our service department, did construct 3 rain gardens in the parking lot there. And I'm not sure if Mr. Mercurio was going to report on that, so I don't want to steal his report. So I'll leave that at that. But it was there was a lot of people helping out in that miserable weather, so thanks to them. The community center generator has been installed and is operational. Although the building is not a FEMA-approved shelter, it can be used as a comfort area in cases of extreme weather. When we had some power outages a couple years ago in the winter, and we had some residents there. Luckily, we didn't have the power go out at the community center. So that will be an available place in case we do have some trouble in the future. Tomorrow evening, I will have the pleasure of swearing in our 2 newest board members. Jim Costabile has been appointed to the vacant BZA seat, and I apologize, it's Mr. Costable. Was formerly on the BZA as a member and a chairman. And then Lyle Satterley, who is a planner by trade, has been appointed to the Planning Commission, and I look forward to working with both of them. Bob Tribby and I met with Kevin Pugley and representatives from Gardner to discuss the savings associated with our shared savings agreement. As you know, the agreement is at no cost to the city. They have found some savings on our electric and gas accounts. At our last meeting, I shared the findings of the engineer Gardner brought in to do an assessment of our system. Despite the bad news from that assessment, these savings can be realized within the system, with the system in its current configuration. And Gardner continues to look for efficiencies that will result in further savings. I'll keep you posted if they find anything else. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Okay, we will move on to our Director of Law, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report this evening, but I would request a short executive session when the public business is completed this evening to discuss pending and imminent litigation.
Thank you. We will now move on to a report from our Director of Finance, Mr. Tribby.
I will ditto what Mr. Murphy said. I have no report, but I'll be at the executive session. So.
Okay, well, we're happy to have you. Are there any questions for Mr. Tribby? Okay, next we'll move on to our reports of committees, commissions, and boards, and we'll begin with our building committee, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. I will be meeting with the mayor and Mr. Murphy on the 17th of May to discuss the pod situation in the city and the other containers. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. DeJohn? We'll move on to Finance and Audit Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. We have not met, so I have no report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? We'll move on to our Legislative Committee. That's Mrs. Snyder. Mrs. Sabetta, do you have anything to report in Mrs. Snyder's absence?
Only that there will be a legislative meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m. here at City Hall.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta regarding our legislative meeting? We'll move on to Public Works and Services Committee. Mr. Mercurio.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have a report tonight. The Service Department has been very busy. They've continued with the sign placement on the south side of the city, and within the next couple of weeks they'll start painting some fire hydrants. As far as the parks go, the bathrooms are open in the park, and the main pool is up and running. The playgrounds in the main park and at Oakville will get some new mulch this week. The road department has started making pavement repairs to Elmwood, and they also have just 4 more tree lawn trees to plant to finish our spring list, which was over 40 trees this spring, and they have started, I guess, taking orders for a list in the fall. As the mayor reported, just an update on DPAVE Northeast Ohio. The project that we had here at the community center, there were over 30 volunteers here on Saturday in the rain and in the cold, and they removed the asphalt in the community building parking lot. And Mr. Fernauer reports that this was really amazing to see a group of volunteers pick apart a parking lot with pinch bars and good old-fashioned hard work. And he even noted that the mayor was there to remove some pavement with a pinch bar. And we also had help from Sean Ward and his son, also from Greg Kalis and Aaron Moses. They also helped out, and they were from the service department. They started around 8:30, and by 1 o'clock the pavement was removed, and they were eating lunch. As far as the project continued into Sunday, where they had another 20 volunteers, and the agenda for Sunday was to fill the area with soil and plant the trees and bushes, and then mulch it. And special thanks to Dan Gerson, our engineer, for all of his help both days. We really appreciate Dan taking the time away from his busy schedule to volunteer for both of those days. And Mrs. Sabetta also took some time, I know, to stop by up there. And the service department also had 7 employees volunteer their time on Sunday. So special thanks to Pat Jones, Kevin Dillo, Tim Coffey, Joe Redden, Cameron DeBardo, Mike Gianlombardo, and Giovanni DePio. And finally, on another note, our traffic engineer, TMS, they completed the grant application through NOACA for our Mayfield Road signal and safety improvements, and for the Lander Road roundabout that we had talked about at our last meeting. And both applications were submitted on Friday, May 5th. And finally, we do have 2 items on tonight's agenda regarding our road program. We got the bids in, and all of them came in under the engineer's estimate, so that's good news, and we can address those as they come up. And that completes my report.
Thanks, Mr. Mercurio. Are there any questions for Mr. Mercurio? Okay. We'll move on to our Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Mano.
I think Mrs. Sabetta had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to see Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you. I didn't have a question, but I just wanted to add to Joe's DPAVE report and thank Mr. Frenauer for going forward and putting our city as the pilot city for this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Mano, Recreation and Parks Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mayfield Heights Recreation, the Silver Social Dance will be held Saturday, May 20th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at the Rosti John Community Center for the first dance of the year. The cost is $5 per person at the door, including it includes refreshments and entertainment by Fred Sevilla. If you're looking for something for your child to do this summer, we have several week-long camps open this summer. The tennis camp will be held on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's $70. The 8 to 11-year-olds from 9 to 10 a.m. and 12 to 14-year-olds from 11 to 12 p.m. Science camp, that'll be on June 19th through the 23rd. That will start at 12:30 and go till 2 p.m. and it's $50. For campers entering 5 to 8th grade, a week of fun activities in biology, chemistry, health, and food science at the Mayfield Invocation Center's Biomedical Laboratory. We also have a cheer camp Tuesdays and Thursdays from June 6th through the 22nd. The cost is $50. 5 to 11-year-olds from 10:15 to 11:45 a.m. Camp will focus on motion techniques, jumps, dance, cheers, and more. Take place at the City Park Pavilion A. We also offer sports camps run by Mayfield varsity coaches. Don't miss out on swim lessons at Draga Pool. Session 1 begins on June 5th. Pre-register to guarantee your spot. Pool passes are on sale at City Hall in the Recreation Department Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Don't miss out on the early bird pool passes, the price which ends on Friday, May 26th at 4:30 p.m. Residents must show us a current gas or electric bill and photo ID to receive the resident rate. All family memberships must provide birth certificates for children included on their pass. If you're looking for a fun pastime this summer, Mayfield Heights Recreation Department would love to have you join our programs. We have adult tennis instruction on Tuesdays, June 13th through July 25th at 6 p.m. The cost is $60. Instructed by Earl Beebe, high school tennis and PTR certified coach, this 6-week program will teach the fundamental of the game. Participants should have tennis shoes, tennis racket, and water. We also have adult doubles round robin Fridays from June 30th through August 4th, 6 p.m. The cost is $60. Participants will play with a different partner every 15 minutes using no ad scoring. Silver Shooters Bocce, Wednesdays at 11:15 a.m. Cost is $32. Bocce ball really knows no age limit. It can be played and enjoyed by any age. Played under our beautiful pavilion. A simple lunch will be provided after the game. Did you know we offer a bus trip almost every month of the year? In May, we will be going to the Canton-Akron area on May 19th at 10:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Includes the National First Ladies Museum, McKinley Memorial, and lunch on your own at Stan Hewitt Hall and Gardens. The cost is $50. For more information on any of the programs, please visit the website or glance through our activity guide or call us at 440-442-2627. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mano. Are there any questions for Mr. Mano? We will move on to our Safety and Transportation Committee. Mrs. Finney.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We do have one item on the agenda this evening. That's ordinance number 2017-14. This ordinance pertains to smoke alarm signaling and suppression systems. Chief Elliott is present tonight, and he also provided council with a detailed explanation of this ordinance. So I guess when we get to that part of the agenda, I'm sure the chief will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Finney. Are there any questions for Mrs. Finney? We'll move on to our Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Mercurio.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock right here in Council Chambers. We have 3 items on tomorrow night's agenda. That completes my report.
Thank you. We'll go on to our Planning Commission, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. Our meeting last Monday evening was canceled. We're waiting for a traffic study to be completed on the new Chase Bank, which will be built in front of Eastgate Shopping Center. So we will probably be meeting on May 15th at 7 p.m. in these chambers. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. DeJohn. We'll now move on to our comments from the public. Pursuant to Section 121.02, subsection H8 of the codified ordinances, each person will be allowed 5 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. This is not a time for public debate, but it is your opportunity to address council with your concerns. Please note that we will not allow any personal attacks at this time. Also, if you're here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to come forward and address council. If you would like to be heard this evening, please raise your hand, be recognized, and approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. It is now 7:18, and we will open the public portion. Is there anyone that would like to be heard? Since we have no one coming forward for the public, we'll close the public portion at 7:18. We'll now move on to resolutions, and we'll begin with Resolution 2017-26. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution number 2017-26, a resolution declaring May 21 through May 27, 2017 as National Public Works Week in the city of Mayfield Heights, Ohio. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Finney, seconded by Mr. DeJohn. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Trussy?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. All of council should have received a copy of the resolution declaring May 21st through May 27th National Public Works Week in Mayfield Heights. Mayor, would you like to say anything about this resolution?
No, this resolution is just recognizing a group that, we count on every day, and I don't think sometimes that goes, their hard work goes without recognition. So we just want to make sure that we recognize all the public works employees and all they do for us every day.
Well said. They do a tremendous job in our city. Are we members of the American Public Works Association?
That I'm not sure of. Yes?
They are? Because I know it's a national organization. The public connects with us and celebrates this vital row of public works all over the nation. So we're very fortunate to have the group that we have here. They do a terrific job for our residents. We'll move on. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Trussy?
Yes. Resolution 2017-26 has been approved. We'll move on to Resolution 2017-27. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution number 2017-27, a resolution authorizing the mayor to extend the agreement with DataServe Integrations, LLC, for computer and other information technology-related services for an additional 6-month period and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Finney, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Trussy?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mercurio, seconded by Mr. Mano. We all received a memo from Mr. Tribby with a request from the mayor to extend the contract for DataServe for an additional 6 months, Apparently, the contract expired January 31st of 2017, and the request to extend is coming to us right now. And if approved, the contract will expire in 3 months, and July 31st of 2017. So technically, my comment would be that we've been operating without a contract since January. I know that in the past, council has asked that when these contracts come up, that they come before us so that we can, send out proposals before the contract expires instead of, 7 months into the contract.
This is just, the master contract expires July 31st. This is just lining up some other services we have to expire at the same time. So we already are getting, part of our contract is till July 31st. So this is just lines up all of their services to expire on July 31st, and we are in the process right now of comparing prices and going to have some options and making sure we do our due diligence as far as the other options there are.
So this extension is really just for the additional work that you've had done?
No, it's there's a couple parts to the contract, and this is just lining them all up. That's all.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Resolution 2017-27 has been approved. We'll move on to Resolution 2017-28. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution 2017-28, a resolution accepting a certain bid for the resurfacing, reconstruction, and repairs with asphaltic concrete, Portland cement concrete, and concrete joint repairs of various streets, and declaring an emergency. The proposed contractor is AJ Cement Contractors, Inc. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mr. DeJean. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mrs. Finney. We all received a memo from our city engineer, Dan Gerson, with a summary of the advertised bids for work on our roadway improvement program in the amount of $815,967, which would be awarded to AJ Cement Contractors if approved tonight. Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Resolution 2017-28 has been approved. We'll move on to Resolution 2017-29. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution number 2017-29, a resolution accepting a certain bid for the crack sealing of various streets and declaring an emergency. The proposed contractor is Specialized Construction, Inc. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Finney, seconded by Mr. DeJean. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mr. DeJean. Again, attached to the same memo from our city engineer, Dan Gerson. Mr. Gerson recommends Specialized Construction's bid in the amount of $64,820.10 for crack sealing to be performed on various streets in the city this year. Any other discussion or comments? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Resolution 2017-29 has been approved. We will now move on to ordinances, and we'll begin with ordinance 2017-13. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ordinance number 2017-13, an ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances, providing for the adoption of new matter in the updated and revised codified ordinances, providing for the publication of such new matter, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Finney, seconded by Mr. DeJohn. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mrs. Finney. This ordinance basically brings our codified ordinances into conformity with state law after council has passed and approved or edited or changed numbering or repealed ordinances. So it really is a housekeeping type issue that we do every year so that we are in compliance with state law. Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Ordinance 2017-13 has been approved. We'll move on to ordinance 2017-14. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ordinance number 2017-14, an ordinance amending Part 15 of the codified ordinances of the city titled Fire Prevention Code and Chapter 1511 titled Standards Therein by enacting Section 1511.24 and amending Section 1511.99 and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mr. Mercurio. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. And do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Finney, seconded by Mr. DeJohn. We've all received a memo from our fire chief, Bruce Elliott, requesting approval from council to endorse the changes to the current ordinance. In Part 15 of the codified, we'd be enacting Section 1511.24 titled Fire Alarm Signaling and Suppression Systems, and we'd be enacting this section which would prohibit any person in commercial, industrial, or multi-residential property to silence, reset, or disable any fire alarm signaling system. And by approving this ordinance, Section 1511.99 of the codified titled Penalty would be amended to include the new section 1511.24. Chief, would you like to come up and elaborate on this? He wasn't going to say no. Were you going to say no, Chief?
Okay. Thank you very much for having me up. The memo was pretty clear. This is about providing the safety and welfare of our occupants in our commercial buildings and our multifamily residents. You know, many times, you know, people think they're doing the right thing, and they go and think it's not a serious situation. They might silence an alarm, and many times they reset it before we even get there, and that also clears out the panel, so it doesn't even allow us to even figure out what caused the alarm to begin with. By doing things such as that, you know, you're just putting the safety and the welfare of the people inside the building possibly at risk if there was truly an emergency in that building. You know, most of the time, you know, we roll up on scene, we investigate it, we take care of it, we work with the occupants, the owners, and maintenance people to take care of whatever might be wrong in that building. This is just you know, making people accountable and letting them know that there is some truly hazards by possibly resetting an alarm before the fire department gets there. So that's all we're really asking is to wait for the professionals to get there. We can investigate it, follow through if there is any kind of issues with our Fire Prevention Bureau. Any questions?
Mr. DeJean?
How will you be notifying all the businesses in multifamily?
We're not gonna go out and send them letters. Most of these people already do this on a daily basis. I mean, most people do not wanna touch a fire alarm system. You're putting yourself at risk by doing that. So there's just a handful of businesses that we do have some that routinely do this, and we would have to, we'll talk with them personally. We're also thinking of maybe making up a sticker and just putting it on their alarm panel, warning them it is a violation of the codifieds by resetting or silencing the alarm, and to call 911 if there's any emergencies, or we're working on that aspect of it. So in general, this is not a big thing. Most people do not want to touch that alarm. That's that scares most people, but there are a few people that will take it upon themselves to do that, and we would just follow through with those few. So
Thank you. Any other questions for our chief?
thank you.
Thank you, Chief Elliott. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Ordinance 2017-14 has been approved. We will now move on to motions. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Motion to allow the sale of alcohol at Unity Days.
Our Unity Days will be held June 23rd to the 25th. Do I have a roll call on the motion to approve? I need a motion. Oh, do I have yeah. I'm sorry about that. I do that every time. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mercurio, seconded by Mr. DeJean. Sorry about that. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes, this motion has been carried. Our council business agenda has been concluded for the evening. We will now proceed to executive session. It is now 7:34, and at this time I need a motion to recess into executive session regarding pending and imminent litigation. Moved by Mr. Mercurio, seconded by Mr. DeJean. Roll call on the motion to approve. No, roll call on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. DeJean?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes, this motion has been moved, and we will now move into executive session.